This is going to be a little bit different video. I had somebody reach out to me and ask, do I ever review any digital Bible study apps? And I said, no, not really. I never have. I'm not super techie, for one. And two, I use Bible software. I use it extensively, but I don't use it very deeply. I use Bible software not nearly to its fullest capabilities. Basically, like someone handing the keys to a Maserati to someone who just needs to go to the grocery store. So I'm not a power user by any means, but I do want to show you a little bit of how I use Bible software. In this video, we're going to look at how I use Logos, and then I'm going to show you the app version. I've opened it up. At the top is the home button. You click it and it'll take you to the home page. One of my complaints about Logos is it is super, well, I shouldn't say it is super slow, but it's kind of clunky. It's not lightning fast responsive. So things take a while to load sometimes. Libraries take a while to index. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. And I have the newest MacBook Pro on the market right now, so it's not that. It's always been the case with Logos. It's always been a little bit clunky and unresponsive in my personal opinion. Sorry, Logos, but maybe if you work there and you're watching this, you can fix it. So the homepage, I don't ever use any of this. I mean, this will just take you to different things you can pre-order, different resources, videos. It'll show you stuff from your library. I just don't mess with this enough to really care. The button right here, you have your library. Now you can arrange this how you want it. I've just got it in this setting. I think you can, you can see all the books cover, or you can tile them with ratings, or you can do a detailed view where it breaks it down by their categories. So for example, here I have my Bible translations. I don't use most of these in Logos. If I'm doing work in the text itself. Sorry, if you hear the clicking, that's my mouse wheel. I need to get a quiet mouse wheel. If you have any recommendations, leave that in the comment section below. I don't use a lot of these Bible translations in Logos because if I'm doing Bible work, translation work, I'll usually do that in Accordance more than in Logos. I use Logos more for research, for resources. For example, commentaries. I have 167 commentaries. Of course, that number is kind of padded because like the Adam Clark commentary series, they split each one up into a separate book, which was, it's kind of annoying to have to scroll through all these. But these are all the commentaries that I have in Logos, and that's mostly what I use it for. The other thing I use Logos mainly for, probably 80% of what I use Logos for, are the encyclopedia and dictionaries that they offer. So these are the dictionary and encyclopedia collections that I have, and then lexicons. And then I use Logos for monographs, for regular one-off books. So these are some of the books that I have. Some are more research, some are normal books. You can just have them digitally, like this one by Chris Wright on cultivating the fruit of the Spirit. And so that's what's really helpful about Logos, is it is a digital library, and it's also a searchable digital library, which is nice. Systematic theology text and study Bible. Now there are thousands and thousands and thousands of books that you can get on Logos. So if you want to search for a book and see if it's available, you could come up here to the little shopping cart, click on it. Now this is showing 95,000 results. So obviously I want to narrow this down because these aren't even all in English. Let's search my favorite author, Christopher Wright. Let's see what Chris Wright books come up. So here are a number of Chris Wright books for sale that you could order. Now, that's one of my favorites. I think The Mission of God is one of the best works of biblical theology ever written. So I could click on it, and here is a little overview. I can get a preview of it. So if I preview it and I'm like, oh, this looks really good, then I can buy it. Quick buy. And this is, you can see it's $30.99. Quick buy, boom, it would download it, add it to my library, and then it would be included in my resources in my Logos library now. So it's really helpful for books that you need to reference. Not necessarily if you just want to read, if you're just, book that you want to read through and then put it down and not go back to it again, but for resource books like the things I'm surrounded by here at Disciple Dojo, having them digitally is helpful because I don't have to lug these around everywhere if I'm working on a talk or needing to copy and paste, or there's a passage from a book that I remember being really good and I want to share it in a group setting or here on a video. If I have the resource, I can just pull it up and it's right there, and it's on my iPad, it's on my phone, anywhere I have the app. I also have access to the library as well. That's what I use Logos for: access to books, commentaries, lexicons, and resources that I don't want to have to carry around or manually type into whatever I'm presenting on. Now, there are all these other features, ways to study that, again, I'm not a power user. I don't even use most of this stuff. I could probably fiddle around and figure out what it's good for, but, doing a Bible word study, theology guide, exegetical guide, it's just, I know the resources that I want to use. I just open them up and use them. This stuff is all nice and it's really helpful for especially pastors. I just don't use it a lot, so I can't speak to it. Same thing with the tools. Depending on which version of Logos you buy, you'll have access to different tools where you can do things like a text comparison, a sermon builder, there's an atlas, there's a concordance, there's all of these tools. Now, depending on, like I said, which package of Logos you buy is what you'll have access to. What I did with my Logos is way back, I just downloaded the free Logos engine, just Logos, the program, no resources, didn't come with anything, but it was the one you can download for free on the Logos website. And then I add individual volumes or individual sets that I buy to that engine. So I didn't buy a Logos silver or gold. I didn't buy those because a lot of times they come with a lot of filler stuff that I don't really want or need. So I just downloaded the free engine and then I added my resources to it. That's how I do it. If you work for a church, a ministry, if you have a continuing education budget, you may want to get one of the editions that comes with a lot of these tools already unlocked. I just didn't choose to do that. But here's what I want to show you: the workspaces. So the different workspaces, different layouts is how Logos is laid out. This screen, pretty much everything on this screen are little tabs within big windows. So right now I have 2 windows open. I can change the size of these windows. I can move them here. I have the resources tabbed. So I could take them and maybe, let's say I want the Hebrew and the English visible at the same time. I could move the Hebrew to one tab or one window and then put the English in another window. Now these resources are tabbed here, and this, my Hebrew text, is right here. If you notice, they're scrolling together because the resources are linked. I've linked all of these. This little A right here, these all belong to the same linked resource set. So here's my Septuagint. Here's my Dead Sea Scrolls Bible, here's my Lexham English Bible, and here's my Lexham Hebrew Bible. They're all linked together, and they're all linked to these commentaries. So the New Bible Commentary, I've got them linked. So as I'm scrolling Genesis, you can see right here, it's scrolling with me. So whatever passage I'm looking at, I don't have to flip a lot of pages. They're right there. And I can add more. I can click on a tab, and any of the resources that I have, I can search for and I can add them in. So if I wanted to see what, let's go with Adam Clark, what he says about, or Matthew Henry, you just click on one and now it's added here, this tab. And if I want to, I go to this little option and I can link it to the set, and now it's linked along with all the others. Not a big fan of Matthew Henry, so I'm going to close that one out. Another thing that you can do, which is nice, especially when I'm teaching for videos here, I do use this a lot. You can change the size of the fonts. So when I'm teaching and I want it to show up big on the screen, I'll create a teaching display and I'll make it pretty big so you guys can read what my screen is actually showing instead of the normal working size on my screen that I'm looking at here. And most of the resources, they have a table of contents here. You just click that, go right to whatever passage. So I'm studying Numbers. I want to know about the census and Numbers that begins the book. So I click on it. It takes me there in this resource, and all the other resources linked takes me to that passage as well. So this is my commentaries layout. However, there are a number of other layouts you can use that I'll show you. If I scroll here, I have a lexicons view. So when I open this one, these are my lexicons. I've actually used this in some of the teaching videos here on Disciple Dojo. Here I have my English Bible. Here I have my original text, so the Hebrew Old Testament, the Septuagint, and the New Testament. And these are all interlinear, so I can actually turn on and off interlinear. And you can adjust what you want it to show. You can have it show just the manuscript. You can have it show let's turn on the Greek lemma, the morphology, and the Strong's number. So as I do that now, this is what my interlinear looks like. I find those a lot really distracting, so I usually turn off the morphology and the Strong's and all that, and sometimes I'll do an English literal translation just if I want to show it on the screen. So these are the original language texts down here, and then these are my lexicons that I have open to do word studies. So here's Hallett, Hebrew Aramaic lexicon. Here's the abridged Brown Driver Briggs Hebrew lexicon. Here is the LEH Septuagint lexicon, my BDAG New Testament Koine lexicon, then also the Pocket Dictionary of Theological Terms, which is helpful for summarizing things in easy to understand concepts that I can use to teach from. And then again, I can add any other resource that I want to in a new tab. I have a Dojo camera teaching set up. So what I'm showing you on screen, this layout is set up so that it's easy to show. I have the fonts all big. I have my English Bible here. I have it linked to the original text here. And then right here, I have some lexicons. And these are sizable enough that these work for video. So when I'm teaching, I'll pull up something like this. But I can change this all around. I mean, all of these windows are resizable. So if I just want to focus on one part of the screen and kind of make the other smaller, you can play around with it. You can add resources. You can do all kinds of stuff. It's really customizable. Even this background color, I have it in dark mode. You can set it to white. My monitor is big, so if this is on white, I have this white glare on my face when I'm teaching on camera. So it's just easier for me here in the studio to use the dark mode, but you can change that in the settings. So these are all the things you do. You know, do you want it to copy footnotes when you're copying and pasting? How do you want your text displayed? What fonts do you want? Do you want your Greek fonts displayed in SBL Greek? Do you want them displayed in some of these other type Greek fonts? Same thing with Hebrew font, Syriac font. And then this is a key feature. If you did have the Perseus collection, it comes with like just tons of books that if you're a biblical scholar, you'll probably never use. And so you can actually hide some of those resources so they don't clog up your library. This, I actually had to talk to Logos customer service about how to do this because my library was just bloated with all these Perseus resources. And they said, yeah, we get that a lot. A lot of people want to hide them because they never use them. So these are like all Latin and English and stuff that I will never, ever use and need. So these are hidden. They don't show up in my library. But if I wanted to change that, I'd just go here and unhide them, and then they'd pop back up in my library. So that's a quick overview of how I use the desktop. Again, I barely scratched the surface of what you can do with Logos. So if you're a Logos power user out there and you're like, you didn't show yeah, I didn't. You're right, because I don't use those things. But they are great resources, and I encourage you, if you are techie, if you are very type A, if you love organization, you can do all kinds of stuff with Logos. So play around with it. See their videos, check out their website. Other than it being a little clunky at times, just in terms of how it interacts with mouse clicks and looking up and scrolling and highlighting and things like that, Logos is fantastic for having a large digital library that has only the resources that you want. And Logos does a book of the month thing. So every month, if you're a Logos user, they give a free book away. And then they have sales to pair with it. So you can download the book completely free and you have it forever. And then they'll have a $1.99, $2.99, $3.99, $4.99 that you can bundle together. And they're really good resources. It's not like the public domain stuff that you can get on Google Books for free. I mean, they give away good commentary resources in their Book of the Month programs. Now, what I think the strength of Logos is their app. The reason Logos is still around and BibleWorks isn't is because they have a good working app. And so that's what I want to show you real quick, how I use the app on my iPad. So you open up Logos, and down at the bottom are all the buttons that let you do what you want to do. Right now, I have 7 windows open. So if you click this little 7, these are the windows that I have all open at once. I have my Hebrew Bible with my English Bible beside it. I have my Hallett lexicon, so I can look up words really quick. The next panel, I have my Greek-English interlinear Septuagint, and then I have my LEH Septuagint lexicon, so I can look up words in the Greek Old Testament. Then I have my New Testament with the English beside it. Then I have my Lexham English Bible and the Faith Life Study Bible notes, which we've reviewed the Faith Life Bible here. And then I have my Dead Sea Scrolls Bible. And you can add resources and keep them all open. So these are all open right now in this particular study. I'll click on the Faith Life window. So now here's my Faith Life Study Bible. Here's the text, and the notes are on the right-hand side, and the notes scroll with the text. Obviously, if I want the text bigger and the notes smaller, I just move it over. You can do it how you want it. Lexham English Bible is also keyed to other Logos resources. So this little lock icon means that there's an article about this subject in a resource on Logos, but the lock means it's a resource I don't own. So I could, if I wanted to look at it, I could click on it, I could buy the resource, and then I'd have it in my Faith Life Study Bible. And then there's also essays. I can click on, there's a little quick essay on the Pentateuch. This is all the stuff in the Faith Life Study Bible, but without a big, thick Bible that you have to carry around. And then there's also further recommended reading, all of those available on Logos that you can buy too. So it's really smart how they've done it. Whoops, can't be opened because it's not part of your library. So you would have to go and buy that resource, then it would be part of your library. So you can constantly build your study Bible, basically, which is why I like the Faith Life Study Bible, especially on the app. Now, if I want to get back to where I was, I just tap the middle of the screen. It pulls up the bar. I go back to my windows. I'll show you how I do when I'm reading through Hebrew. So if I'm getting ready to teach on a passage, sometimes I want just quick access to the Hebrew text. So here's Genesis chapter 1. If that's what I'm teaching on, and let's say I want to like key in on a specific word. And my Hebrew is okay. It's not great. I mean, I'm 20 years out of seminary and I try to keep it up as best I can. Same with my Greek. So I'm not fluent. I can't sit and sight read Hebrew out loud, but I can translate and read and work my way through the text. It just takes a little bit of help. I have to look up some words sometimes. I have to have parsing help, and sometimes if it's an irregular form of a word I don't recognize, like what stem is this in? Is this second masculine singular? Is this third feminine plural? Things like that. I'm not a grammar nerd, so, I need help from time to time, and that's why the Logos app is really helpful. Let's say I'm reading along, and I get to the end of verse 16, and I come to this word, hakokabim, and I'm like, hakokabim. I mean, ha is the article, so kokabim is the word, and I'm like, what is kokabim? Well, you open it up, Logos right here, long press on it, and it pulls up the word info. So it tells you the first part is ha, which is the definite article. And it gives you whatever lexicon you have keyed up to it. It gives you the entry for ha. But you're like, no, but I know ha, I need kokabim. That's the word I'm looking at. So you scroll over here, it's kokav. It's the plural of kokav. This is the word for star. And it gives you the background. And if I wanted to look up more, I click on this and it tells me, this is kind of small, I don't know if you can see on your screen, but it tells me here's the word, here's the lemma. The lemma is the foundation base word that it is, kokav. And it tells you the morphology. It's a noun, common, masculine, plural, and it's in the absolute position. So if I wanted to go deeper on this, I click on these little dots here and I can look up the word, search for the word, or open Bible word study. I click on it, look up the word, I scroll over, and there is kokav in Hallett. So I can look at the entire entry, see how the word's used, see the passages where it's used. These are all hyperlinks. So if I click on any of these that are in blue, it'll pull up the verse where that word is found. By long pressing on the word, it also pulls up this menu bar. I can copy the word. I can do a search for where does this word appear elsewhere in the Bible. I can highlight it. Let's say I want to highlight this in the text. I hit highlight. I choose, let's do a red highlighter. Why not? Hit done, and now it's highlighted in red in my Logos library. I can also do a cool thing called a word study. So I open Bible word study. I click on this. It opens a new tab, and it gives me, at the top, these are definitions, and it gives me the lexicons. I can look it up in Hallett, the abridged BDB, Strong's, or Concise Dictionary. It also has how it's translated every time. Now, every time kokav is translated as star or star, so that's why this blue circle in the middle is 100%. So let's do one that has different meanings, and I'll show you what. So if I want to close this out, I just swipe up, close it out. Let's do Shemayim, the word for sky or heavens. So a long click on Shemayim. So it's telling you it's ha Shemayim. So ha is the article, and then Shemayim. Here's the word for Shemayim. So if I wanted to do a Bible word study on Shemayim and see how this word is used, open Bible word study. It opens, and here we go. These are all the times Shemayim is translated in the LEB. That's the translation that's being used. And the vast majority of the times it's translated as heaven, heavens, or heaven. But sometimes in these little bars in here, it's sometimes translated as sky, skies. Sometimes it's translated the highest heavens. Sometimes it's translated as air. Sometimes it's translated as celestial sphere. So these are the different meanings. Like Isaiah 47, they translated it as celestial sphere. In Deuteronomy and Jeremiah, they translated it as air. In Genesis, Joshua, Job, it's translated as heaven. So you can click on these usages and you can actually see the verses where it's translated that way. So you could click. There's actually an article in the Dictionary of Demons and Deities on it. So I can click, open that up because I do own that resource, and here is the entry in the Dictionary of Demons and Deities on Shemayim, on heaven. So that's a really helpful thing about the Logos app that I do like. You can get access to the original language text very easily, and I can turn off in this tab either resource. So if I don't want the English, if I just want the Hebrew, then I close out the English, open it back up, and now I just have the Hebrew text. If I want to read Hebrew, but I also want a little bit of help, then I can click on the resource options at the top, and I go to View Settings. And in the View Settings, I can change the size of the font. I can change how far apart the spacing is. I can also change the color, if whatever's easy to read. I can choose what fonts I want it displayed in. I can keep the display on so my iPad doesn't shut down if I'm just looking at it. And then at the bottom, here's what I want to show you for the interlinear resources, which is what this is. This is the Lexham Hebrew English Interlinear Bible. You can choose what you want it to show in the interlinear lines. Now, right now, it's just showing the manuscript. That's just the Hebrew text. But if I wanted a little help, then I can turn on the lemma, and that shows under each line the uninflected lexical forms of each word. And that helps you, especially if you're working on your vocabulary. Or if you want to be even faster, I can turn on English translation, and that will give a roughly literal interlinear translation as I'm reading through. If I want to see the morphology of the word, I can turn that on for those who really want the grammar, or I can get the lexical value of the word rather than a translation, and it just gives you the lexical gloss. If you don't know what a gloss is, then don't even worry, because wouldn't use any of this anyway. This is also helpful for teaching, especially if you're in an audience where there are some people who know the original languages and some people who don't. This can help everybody stay on the same page if you're showing a passage. So down at the bottom, if I click on this library icon, this pulls up my library, and then you can also click on the store and you can shop. There's different Bible translations if you wanted that. There's commentaries, church history, and you can see all, you can search. There's original language stuff, the categories here at the bottom. And then you can also do readings. You can also say, I have a book, I want to do a reading plan. I want to read, a chapter a day, or I want to read 100 pages a week or something like that. You can set up a reading plan, and it'll open the book that you're reading. It'll tell you how far along you are, and it'll break it up into sessions, and you can read each session, and by the end of the sessions you're done with the book and you can see what you've completed, and then you can save books to read later. So these are all the books that I want to read at some point that I have in my read later list. And so this is a helpful thing to find, because if you do have a large library, sometimes you just lose track of resources. So I'll click on Fruit of the Spirit by Chris Wright. It takes me to it, and all of my highlights are saved. As I go, I highlight, and here's the book, and I'm reading through it. So if you're a digital reader, or you want books that you have access to digitally for cutting and pasting, for sharing quotes, this is a really helpful resource. You can also, in any book, you can long press, doesn't have to be a Bible text, and you can highlight, obviously, you can share, you can make a note. You can also do this thing called visual copy, which I'll show you. Let's say I'm reading Wright's book, and he has a passage that I find interesting. So I drag my highlighter. Let's say this paragraph. I thought this is a great paragraph. I want to put this in a PowerPoint slide. I visual copy, and now I can choose a slide background, and it puts the quote right there. So if you're making PowerPoint or keynote presentations, you can even change from 4:3 ratio to 16:9. You can mess around with the text, and then when you've got it how you want it, then you click on share, and you can save it to Dropbox. You can mail it to somebody. You can save it in your image folders. And then you have this slide ready, drop it right into your PowerPoint or your sermon visuals, and you're good to go. So this is pretty helpful for doing presentations fast. And you can do this in PowerPoint, but it involves cutting and pasting and all that kind of stuff. So you can also open a search window and you can search your library. You can search for a word, you can search for a phrase, and it'll search across all your library and all of your resources. You can search for a Bible verse, however you want to do that. I don't use this much. Again, I just usually go right to the resource and open it. So that's the app for iPad on Logos. And what I use it for most of the time is to have quick access to the original Hebrew or Greek that I can read through, and I can look up words very quickly on the fly. So that's how I use Logos and the app. Again, there's way more features, and this video is already super long, but I just want to give you a flavor. So if you're thinking about the Logos app or Logos Bible software, I do recommend it. Just know that the prices of different packages range from free with the basic engine all the way up to thousands and tens of thousands of dollars for the full every resource that they have package, which, you know, obviously theological institutions and libraries and things like that might want that end. But for the average person out there, a very low end base package and then you adding individual resources to it that interest you, that's what I would suggest you do. Those of you out there that are big time Logos nerds, or those of you that pronounce it Logos, technically you can say it both ways. I just use the Erasmus pronunciation. Tell me what you think, how you use it. If I didn't cover your favorite feature, say what it is. Put it in the comments below. I'd like to hear how you use Logos in your own teaching, preaching, or Bible study. Stay tuned. We'll do another video soon here at Disciple Dojo. We'll look at Accordance next time, the desktop version and the app. And then if you have other Bible software that you'd like other people to know about, stick it in the comment section. You can't put links, I don't think, in YouTube comment sections. I've seen some comments people leave on the channel, and if they have links in them, I think YouTube automatically sends those to the trash because when I click on them, nothing shows up. So I never delete comments. If you posted a comment on any video of mine and it doesn't show up, it wasn't me that deleted it. I promise you that. So just double check that. But you can say what resources you use. I know some of you might be eSword users. Some of you might use maybe Olive Tree or some of the other software out there. So share it in the comments. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time back here at Disciple Dojo. Bye.